In this video, I'll introduce in a little more detail the assessments for this course. So there are 4 tests, and then there's a report, what we call a critically appraised topic. I'll talk first about the tests. So each test, you'll be given 2 hours beginning at 11 a.m. on a Thursday in weeks 3, 6, 9, and 12 of the course. I'm going to design the tests so that you shouldn't really need 2 hours to complete them. I'm not a believer in having tests that are a race against time. I don't think it's a good way of measuring students' achievement of learning outcomes to have them worrying about whether they have enough time to finish writing their answers. So they will be designed to be fairly generous in terms of the time that you have. I do realise that there will be a few students for whom the timing, 11 a.m. on Thursdays, is impossible. It could be because they have a clash with other classes. It could be a clash with their working arrangements or other personal commitments. And it's very likely there'll be a few students for whom 11 o'clock on a Thursday in Canberra turns out to be something like 3 o'clock in the morning, wherever they happen to be living at the moment. So if you're in that situation and you really have a genuinely good reason why you can't take the test at the specified time, you need to contact me by email and provide the details. I'll get all of that information together in week 2 when the enrolments for the course have stabilised, and then I'll work out some kind of alternative arrangement for those students. Now, the test to take-home exams, technically, one of the things that means is you can't hand them in late. So you've got to do them on time. What I call a short answer question here is the kind of question which has a right answer. So I can read your answer and it's either going to be right or wrong. That's generally what I mean by a short answer. And what I'll try to do in the test paper is give you an indication of how much I would expect a reasonable answer to take. So what I actually do is I write the questions and then I write my own answers and I count the number of words that I took to answer the question. And I'll give you that as a bit of guidance so that you, it's mainly to prevent people thinking that they have to write very long, short answers. For each test, there's going to be this thing we call a task write-up. So that's a kind of extra question where you're given the question a few days ahead. The commitment I give is that I'll make sure that you have those by the Friday before the test. And typically they will involve you solving some problem or doing some kind of exercise or something, writing it up in a few paragraphs, maybe a diagram, and that gets pasted into your test on the Thursday. So it's important that you get it done and you have it ready and you just paste it in and then get on with the rest of the test. So that's really all there is to the tests. The great advantage of them to you is that I think they'll provide fairly regular feedback on how you're going. And they also provide very important feedback to me as the lecturer. It's the main way that I get to know whether students are understanding what I'm trying to teach. It gives me an opportunity to include some additional instructional, maybe prepare some videos which explain a few things in more detail. So they're very important for that reason. The final assessment is this thing called the critically appraised topic report. And we'll be preparing for this during the course. This is the culmination of all this examination of academic journal articles and appraisal of their quality and so on. And I'll give you an example of what a critically appraised topic looks like. It's an idea which was developed in the field of evidence-based medicine. It's been copied into evidence-based management, but generally the people who teach this in evidence-based management tend to make it a bit too big and complicated. And I really believe in keeping them as simple and short as possible. So the example I've got, this is actually one. This is a medical one, but it's also the kind of thing that you might do perhaps if you were running a gym or a chain of gyms and you were looking to develop a particular program for elderly people to improve their balance. So what you see when you look at one of these is it starts off with a very clear question. So the topic, the critically appraised topic, is this thing here. It says, are lower limb strengthening exercises more effective than core strengthening exercises at improving balance in the elderly? So it's a very clear question. And then it goes through to break the question down a bit in terms of the population that you're interested in and various other things. And then you come to a little section, and this is very critically important. This is where you record how you searched for the research. Now, we're going to be using an academic search engine called Web of Science. It's a pretty good one. And it uses a system of search terms, which I'll teach you how to use it. What you do in your critically appraised topic is you actually make a record of your search terms. And the idea is this makes your search replicable. It means that, say, if I, for example, wanted to replicate your search, I would be able to pretty much copy and paste your search terms, put them into the Web of Science, and it would bring up the same list of articles that you found, perhaps with some new ones that have been added since you did your search. And then what you do is, so you go through the search process, which usually takes a few rounds, and you do your appraisal of what you think are the most important research findings, and you prepare a list of them with some comments about them. And that goes, typically that's reported in a table like this one here. I won't go into the details of that now. And it's normally not a super long table. For most topics, you're not going to get hundreds of top quality articles. And then you have what we call, this is the bottom line and relevance. So that's your summary of what all this research tells you. It might tell you there's a very clear relationship. It might tell you there's no relationship. Quite often it'll tell you that, well, there might be a bit of a relationship, but there really needs to be more research done. But whatever the result is, it needs to be summed up very clearly in a pretty short statement at just a paragraph or two. And then you just have the usual list of references. So they've listed the key ones there. So this is, I'm not suggesting this is an exact template for what you're going to be doing. I will give you a template. But this gives you the general idea and a rough idea of the size of it. I think this one from memory is around about 800 words or something. It's pretty close to what I would expect from you. So that's really it for the assessment. You've got 5 pieces of assessment, 4 tests. You will get feedback on at least 3 of those tests during the course. And then you have this critically appraised topic, which you'll be preparing for during the whole course, and that's due in week 13, essentially, so the week after the teaching finishes.